talk about what I'm calling the tricky hip flexor. Now these are muscles, as you can see from this image here, that attach on your thigh or your femur, and they run up and they attach to the top part of your pelvis, or most importantly, they attach to your lower back. Now one of the amazing things, not just about the hip flexors, but all muscles, is that the body will do whatever it needs to do to achieve a particular goal. And what I see in a gym environment is you'll see people that are lifting particular weights, and their body will automatically modify their technique to try and achieve whatever goal it is that might be a certain amount of weight or number of repetitions that the client might be trying to do. Now the hip flexors are exactly the same, is that the hip flexors are extremely good at taking over exercises that are typically, or you think, are focused on your core. And a classic example in point is this image here of the worst exercise I think you can do in the gym, and that's doing incline sit-ups. Now what can happen here at incline sit-ups is your hip flexors can become so engaged that they do the vast majority of the work. And I have a number of clients who jump on an incline sit-up machine, they can do lots and lots and lots of sit-ups, but find that either their back feels pretty sore at the end of it, or they're just not getting the sort of core development that they kind of expect from the amount of work that they're doing. So what I want to do now is I want you to get involved in a little practical that we're about to do that shows you how easily the hip flexors can get involved in a movement pattern that's aimed at your core, but can just take over and totally dominate the movement. Okay, so the exercise that I want you to do, we're going to do two things. We're going to do a basic crunch or sit-up, or attempted sit-up, without our feet being held down. And then we're going to repeat the same exercise, and we're going to add some level of support to our feet just to see what difference it makes. So I'm going to demonstrate, please feel free to join in. So first thing, we're going to do a standard crunch. So knees bent, feet flat on the floor. I'll have my hands crossed here. Now what I want you to try and do is I want you to try and see if you can sit up and just see how far off the ground you can get yourself. Now that's as far off the ground as I can go. No matter how hard I try, I can't get any further off the ground. Now I could use a bit of momentum, but that really doesn't help at all. So I've contracted my abs, and that's as far off the ground as I can get. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a small weight to my feet. So, same position, and what I'm going to do this time is I'm actually going to be able to sit all the way up. So what's changed? By having a resistance on my feet, my hip flexors, which normally lift my legs up when I'm walking, jogging or running, they can now work in reverse. So what they can do is, now that my feet are supported, my hip flexors now can, instead of pulling my legs up, they can pull my body up instead. Now the reason why that's bad is because your hip flexors are attached to your lower back, as I've mentioned. And what will happen is that they are therefore pulling your upper body up using the attachments on your lower back, which are not particularly large and can very easily get irritated and damaged. And again, there's never a day goes by in my local gym where I don't see someone doing incline sit-ups or some sort of exercise that's loading the hip flexors instead of their core, and at the end of the session it's like, oh gee, their back's a bit sore, what's that about? So we really should never do sit-ups with feet being held down by someone or something at any stage. There's just a no-no exercise. And so there are several exercises that are absolute no-nos, and from this image you can see here there are three major exercises that you absolutely want to keep away from. So you want to really keep away from any sort of exercise where your feet are being held down, whether it be sit-ups on the floor or incline sit-ups. You want to keep right away from any sort of ab roll or exercise. They're extremely advanced. And any sort of leg raising exercise, again, if not done well, is largely hip flexor exercise. So these are very advanced exercises for the core, and there are lots of steps that you should take before you even think about putting any of these into your program, and there are lots of really safe ways of getting the core extremely strong and very well conditioned before you even think about doing extreme exercises such as this in the future.